ahead and start doing the bringing out the white sections. And so just to kind of compare this drawing to another charcoal drawing, it's kind of how I got the idea to start using charcoal is from this. So this is a drawing that was given to me by one of my friends. His cousin is an artist that lives and draws in the East Coast in New York, or near New York, and she does a lot of these small charcoal drawings. And again, you can tell there's some detail, but it's not like fully exquisitely detailed because again, you're using charcoal, and with charcoal, it's a little more tough. You can bring out some little details, and she used the white charcoal. You can kind of see that's the white charcoal, by the way. Okay, and then she used a variety of pencils, charcoal sticks as well. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that. Okay, let's go ahead and start adding some details. I'm going to take this eraser, and if you notice on the image right here on the grass part is pretty bright. So I'm going to take this eraser and now start kind of making it lighter. And I'm just using this paper right now to prevent any smearings from happening or further happening. And hopefully you can erase some of the dark stuff. If you went too dark, don't be too concerned about it. Okay, we're just trying to get a nice even layer of the same value where we need to have it. Okay, just like you saw the drawing with this small one, right? The clouds are supposed to be, can be solid white, but they're not solid white. I'd say they're like a 1 or a 2 even, right? So even the whitest things tend to end up being a little darker. All right, so now we're bringing out the details. Be mindful of when you're erasing how you're holding your paper or where you're touching it. That way you don't make things darker. All right, and now I'm gonna go along this sidewalk right here. If you look at it in the picture, it's pretty bright. It has like a white, almost white line all the way through. So I'm gonna take my piece of paper so I get a nice, because if you look at the line, it's kind of crooked a little bit, so I want to have it be nice and smooth and crisp, or as crisp as we can make it. So line up my paper with it, and then I'm just gonna take my whitest eraser that I have and erase along the edge of my paper, holding my paper in place. If you happen to erase part of the palm tree, it's okay, the tree trunk, you can always add more charcoal. Then take the paper off, and now we have a nice crisp line going through. And again, if there are some slight marks that show up that you can't erase completely, don't get too hung up on them. All right, and now we have that nice crisp edge. I am going to blend now with my stump this little dark line because it's a little too dark. So I want to fade that out. And if you end up messing up the line, it's okay, just erase it again. You can even put the, yes, it is. You can even put the paper here. But make sure you do it, James. Even though I'm recording. All right, there we go. Nice clean line. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this part over here on the other side of the street. So I'm going to take my piece of paper, line it up to where I want a nice clean edge. Take the stump, and I'm just going to blend it so it's a nice smooth line. So not only are we going to be using the paper for the erasing purposes, but right now, as you see me adding it for the other side of the street. See that? And now we have a nice clean edge on both sides. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and start moving into the details for the trees and the trunks. Okay, let's see. Let's start with this tree on the left. Okay. So I'm going to be using the charcoal pencil, the stump, and the eraser. So if by looking at the picture, you can't see every individual leaf on any of the trees, so you shouldn't be drawing each individual leaf. You can draw the general shape of the bundles or bunches of leaves that you see together clumped up, right? And remember, this left side is going to be lighter than the right side was. So let me add some more charcoal around here. Again, I'm just looking at the picture. Then I'm going to go in with the stump and just kind of blend that so it's not so defined, those marks I just made, because you can't see every detailed edge of a leaf. You can see some of those edges of the branches, which are well defined in my drawing, but the leaves should not be well defined because you can't see those in the picture. And all I'm doing is making those marks and then taking the stump and adding a little bit of pressure to kind of blend them. And so if you notice here, there should be some more white specks on there. So now I can go in with the eraser and I'm just kind of like dabbing it to create those little white empty spaces that you see in the drawing. And again, it's kind of like you're adding, you're taking away, you're adding, you're taking away until you get the right desired effect that looks similar to the object that you're drawing, in this case the tree. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to move over to the left side of the tree because I think the right side looks better. I'm going to bring out this branch right here, 1 and 2, which I drew, but they kind of disappeared when I used the stump. And then this next one. And then actually there's even one more right there that I'm gonna bring out right there. Okay. And now I can move over to the left side. Now remember, the left side is lighter, or yeah, lighter in the picture. So we also want to make it lighter in our drawing. I don't think I need to add more charcoal. Now what I need to do is just start using the eraser more. Again, when I'm doing this, I'm looking at the image. Or if we were standing in front of this, we would constantly be looking at what we're drawing. And that leads me to some of your guys' drawings for your sketchbook assignments. It's noticeable when people are looking at the object that they're drawing, and it's also noticeable when people are not, because proportions can be off, values can be off, right? So be mindful of that. All right, I think we're getting there for this. All right, when you look at this part of the tree and you look at the image, are we pretty close? Pretty close, right? All right, let's go over to the trunk, the tree trunk. I'm gonna make a more defined edge on the tree trunk. So the tree trunk, if you look at the picture, is darker. Yeah, I know, Matthew. It is. I am kind of a little bummed on. I wish the paper was a little taller. Yeah, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's not like a huge. It doesn't look completely wrong or different. So that's the good thing. But yeah, I agree. Okay. So the tree trunk on this tree right here is darker than the street in the background, just like it is in the picture. So I'm gonna just define that edge a little better. So using the paper, line it up to the tree trunk, and I'm just going to lightly put a little bit of charcoal along that edge. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Or actually no, I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna take the stump after I put that charcoal. I'm just gonna take the stump, leaving the paper there, and I'm gonna run the stump along that edge. And now we have a nice clean edge on our tree trunk. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Okay. Now remember, tree trunks are cylinders essentially, right? So they should look rounded. If they don't, you need to either make one side lighter or darker, right? And look at the little things. So at the base of this tree trunk, there's some little knobs or bumps that stick out. So I'm just gonna add those. And then there's some going up it. Actually, I'm going to take my eraser now, and in the center of the tree trunk, this is where if you have an eraser on the edge of your pencil, it's going to be, or at the end of your pencil, it's going to be super helpful. I'm just going to use this kneaded eraser. Now I'm just going to go and make a little marks on the inside of the tree trunk, just to show a little variance in values going up the tree trunk. Okay. All right. That's pretty good right there. Okay, let's move on to the palm tree right next to it. So if you look at the picture, on the left side of the palm tree, there's that a little white, really thin line. So we're gonna bring that up. And we kind of did it over here, but we need to bring it back down on this side too. And it'll be a little tricky because the tree trunk isn't fully straight, right? It gets bigger, towards the bottom. So again, take my piece of paper. When you guys are moving the piece of paper across your paper, your drawing, lift it up, please. Don't just drag it, because you're gonna end up smearing your charcoal. All right, so I'm gonna put it right along that edge. Take my eraser, again, run it along the edge of it. I'm gonna just go all the way to the top, or before it shrinks at the top there and stop. And now I'm gonna do the base. So the base is gonna be tricky because it curves, right? So you're gonna try and do your best to mimic that curve. There we go, that's better. Now let me go up to the top. Put that there. All right. Now, the base down here, if you look at the picture, it's got some lighter areas in here. All right, so I'm just gonna go in there, and with my eraser, I'm just dabbing it in the center. And this helps if you don't have like a nice smooth eraser like that. If you have one that has like bumps on it, it's even better because it'll mimic that texture on the palm tree from the bark. And then I'm just gonna go up the palm tree and again just dab it. Yes, Elise. What colors or paint do you need? Okay. All right. All right, and so now, yeah, I'll leave that at the front office for you today as well. Okay, and so now we added some light values, and now I'm gonna go and add some dark values with the charcoal pencil. Okay, and yellow. Got it. So with the tree trunk, we can see some more edges or defined lines than we can on the tree on the left, right? Okay, Elise. And so I'm just going up the tree and bringing out some of the lines. And if you look at the edges of the tree here, notice how some of that bark sticks out. So I'm gonna go over some of that white line that I did earlier with the tree trunk. Okay. Okay, this is a little too light, so I'm just gonna take my stump and blend that a little bit more so it's not as light and it looks more closer to the value in the picture. Okay. Now at the base of the tree trunk, it's a little darker, so I'm gonna really take my charcoal pencil and go in there. And the shadow just sticks out just a little bit past the tree trunk. Okay. And if you look at the left side of the tree trunk on the base, over here there's a little bit of a highlighter right there on the left. So I'm gonna take my eraser and take this one. Just put a dab of lighter value in there. Just a little bit. It's just subtle. Okay. right side of this tree trunk a little darker because it is in the picture. By the way, I haven't been using both sides of the stump, I've just been using one. Jade, don't forget to pick up your painting today. Okay, now let's move to the fronds up here. I'm gonna bring out some more of those dark values in the fronds because they're darker in the picture than in my drawing. Just remember not to get too carried away with how dark you're making things, because you can't make them super bright later on or light. So sometimes when you're drawing or even painting vegetation, like leaves, trees, people get so hung up on drawing every single leaf or branch. Try and get the general sense or shape of that vegetation that you're drawing to create that illusion or that similarity from the actual object to your drawing. And that's one of the biggest differences when it comes to drawing and painting landscapes. And it took me a while to get over that idea. Instead of trying to focus on every single little thing, why not just look at it as a bigger picture, take in the general shape of what it is that you're drawing and mimic that. Because if you do that, then it'll look more similar to your landscape that you're looking at. Now, yes, you can sit there and draw every single little thing you see, but that's going to take you forever. And when it comes to landscape drawing or painting, I don't think I know of any landscape artist that literally draws every single little thing they see in front of them to like extreme detail. Because if you think about it in terms of time, it's not efficient. Unless you are a photorealist painter. And those guys take months and months, or those artists take months and months to finish just one painting that maybe is the same size of our piece of paper, but they're trying to capture everything in it. Alright, so I'm just bringing out some of that white values or lighter values and trying to make it look as identical in terms of the shape as I can, so it matches, so my fronds and my leaves match the picture as well. And some of these are a little dark, so I'm going to take my stump and just drag it over it to make it, to lighten it up a little bit. Because if you look, some of the fronds start dark, and then get lighter in certain sections. Okay, how's it looking? Am I missing something? Should I add more value somewhere? Or is that pretty close? Yeah? Okay, I'm going to take that as a yes. Everything looks good. And now I'm going to move on to the next tree over here. So when we did the line, we shouldn't really have this line right here. If you look at the picture, it just blends. This tree trunk of the palm tree almost blends in with the background tree. So there shouldn't be that line there. So I'm just going to kind of take my stump and blend it. So it's almost like a blending of both the tree trunk and the leaves in the background of the other tree. And then I'm going to just take my charcoal pencil, start putting it along that side and adding values where I think they should be darker. Hope you guys are watching how I'm resting my hand, my drawing hand, on this paper, not on the drawing, to prevent it from smearing. Now that we're doing the details, we don't want to smear what we've already done. This section is pretty dark in the drawing, which is why I'm adding a lot more charcoal. I'm actually going to go and grab the stick now, the charcoal stick. Taking the stump. I think the tree trunk, the shape of it is pretty good. I don't think we need to mess with it. It's mainly just the top of the tree right in here and getting the right values. Okay, I think I put enough charcoal in there, and I'm gonna grab my eraser and lighten a section in here. If you look at the picture, you see how you can see a branch, 2 branches in there that are defined, and then there's some space in between those 2 branches that get lighter. Am I going too fast, by the way, or is this an okay speed for people to follow along? Okay, cool. So I'm bringing out this branch here, this branch over here, and then there's a little bit of a dark area that connects them both right here. And let me make it a little brighter. By the way, I haven't done a landscape in a while. Well, especially with charcoal. I'll be honest, I used to dread drawing landscapes because they felt super big, or felt like I had to put so much into my drawing. But part of it was because I was trying to draw everything I was seeing in front of me instead of just focusing on a section. Okay, all right, I think this is pretty good for now. For the most part, it looks pretty similar to the picture. Or is there something that I'm missing in terms of values on this section before I move on to this second palm tree? I will do this part in a minute. I want to do the palm tree first before I do that part. In the picture, if you look at it, this palm tree is just slightly darker, just a little bit, than the tree behind it. So I'm gonna take my charcoal pencil and just put a line right along that edge, just to show that that's where the palm tree is, and differentiate it from the tree behind it. Remember, that tree, or that palm tree, isn't perfectly straight. It bends a little to the right. And you know what? As you go up to higher up on the palm tree, the trunk does get lighter. I think I might have gotten a little too dark up here. I'm just going to take my eraser and lighten it a little bit, and then also take my stump and spread that around. All right, I'm taking my stump now and kind of filling up that the tree trunk of the palm tree. And then I'll add the bark details in a minute. That's a good point, Matthew. The only problem is finding a job for that. I was gonna grab the white charcoal, but I know you guys don't have them, so I'm not gonna use it. All right, now with the eraser and bringing out the little details. So I'm just gonna take the eraser, and if you look at this part, it's lighter. So I'm just gonna take the eraser and again dab to kind of mimic or create that texture that the palm tree bark has. And then I'm gonna go in with a little bit of charcoal and bring up some of the lines that we see in the picture. So all I'm gonna do, it's almost like I'm gonna add a little bit of stippling throughout it, just to show some varying in texture. Here, let me zoom in so you can see it. And yeah, sorry about these lines or these letters that show up. I didn't realize those were there until after I started drawing. So again, it's almost like I'm just stippling a little bit in each one to create that texture of the bark as you go up the bark. I will say, Matthew, I do have a friend that only paints landscapes. And he's been doing it for some time. He lives up in Northern California. And what he's done is he's driven up and down the West Coast, actually, all of California, and painted the landscapes. And he would travel in his van, and it's a pretty good sized van where he has like a bed that he's made so that if he shows up at a spot that he wants to paint it for a couple days, he'll basically car camp in his van and then go on a hike. Has a backpack, he has an easel in his backpack, and he has his canvas in his backpack, and he just hikes to a point on the landscape or the coast that he wants to paint or finds interesting, and then he sits there for a few hours and paints it, and then he doesn't leave until he's done painting it. He is a really fast landscape painter, and he paints with acrylic. Okay, that's the tree trunk. It's not necessarily a van house, but it's as close as he can probably camp in it for a couple days, not like live in it. He doesn't have a sink or a bathroom in it. Okay, I'm gonna add a thin light area on the left side of this. If you look, there's one right here, a little bit of a white spot there. So I'm just gonna add those with the eraser along this edge, just a little bit. Okay, it's very subtle. All right, let me go ahead and go to the top now. The fronds up there. Okay, you know what, I don't know if we'll have time to finish. All right, so we'll work on these fronds. How about we stop after this palm tree, and then we'll do these 3 on Monday, and then you'll have Wednesday and Friday to work on any missing things. So put some charcoal down with the pencil, and I'm going to just go with the stump to kind of spread it out and get the general shape of the fronds. Okay. So from here to the left, I'd say that's pretty good in terms of the landscape, right? We still need to do more detailed. So I hope you guys can tell the difference between the stuff on the left to the stuff on the right over here. Notice how much more we added some more detail in here. There's more of the textures that are in the picture or in the actual landscape that we put on here, right? Okay, so we'll pause here